I'll just stop and do that here. Okay. Just to go over some logistics, I guess this is helpful if you're not too familiar with the platform for muting video chat. I have a slide that will lead you to a survey later on. So, but I will also put that up in the chat. So look out for that. That way you'll have that. That would be really appreciated if you could do that. So just covering some logistics of that. Okay, so getting into the good stuff. Just want to see who's here. I see some. Just checking out your names. I can't. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, a lot of you people, some got referrals from other people. Like I said, I plan on working with the Waterloo Catholic District School Board in the coming months. So if you're in the room, hi to everyone, but also hi to everyone else. Like teachers are awesome. You guys have been holding it down through the pandemic. So that's why I'm really grateful to be able to share with you guys during this time, and hopefully taking something, something away from this. Hopefully, and sending that message off to the students. I think that that's our goal, is to get people to be inspired and look at the land, the people, different types of history, and to just, I see Kawartha Pine Ridge. I'm sorry, I can't remember. It used to be an art school. It's downtown. We built a canoe there a few years ago. I'll come back to it. PCBS, yes, that's it. PCBS, we had a lot of people in the Ngojinong area that contributed to that project. So yeah, just shout out to everyone. I think Kenjawig Tag is here, Missinaba Cree. Hey everyone, okay. Alrighty, so again, my name is Sylvia Plain. I'm from Aamjiwnaang First Nation. I'm gonna try and squeeze this all in here in a short period of time. Got about 40 minutes to go. I probably won't leave it open for too many questions, so we won't go over too much time, but if you would like to reach out to me, please do. I'm happy to chat at a different time if you have any questions. So I run the Great Lakes Canoe Journey program. Like I said, this started out as research. I was at the University of Toronto, was working on environmental policy under Deb McGregor. And we were looking at how to implement some policies, some existing policies. How can we motivate community people to want to do some cool stuff to contribute? And I thought at that time I was already working on the Mother Earth Water Walk. Working with grandmother Josephine, had come back off of the 2011. I had actually walked from the West Coast through 3 states and then came back. And but really, like I said, so being from Aamjiwnaang, being aware of the industry, being aware that we're Great Lakes people, we have all this fresh water. I'm an Anishinaabe woman. We have ceremonies and rules and responsibilities in caring for the water, and I really liked the work of the Mother Earth Water Walk. I like Josephine's message. I like that it was inclusive. I like the effect that it had, and I thought that that's where I wanted to be. That's where I wanted to learn, and so through the Mother Earth Water Walk, and that was a 4-direction walk that was in the West Coast, was in the Gulf of Mexico, on the East Coast, and in the North, and they all kind of water was carried and submerged to Powder River, Wisconsin. And so I was one of the walkers that walked through the West Coast. And so, I learned a lot about water, but also it had this really cool impact and relationship with the tribes along the way. And they taught me a lot about their roles and responsibilities and their ceremonies and caring for the water. And so I was, of course, really inspired. I was an Anishinaabe, I had something to contribute. I was excited to learn. And we were invited back as from the West Coast people to participate in something called the Tribal Canoe Journeys. And so that's really my entry point. Like I said, I started out wanting to do something for my community. I was in school. I still wanted to be community-based. I wanted to work with Indigenous communities. I thought there'd be some really cool solutions, and that's just a really quick snapshot without getting into the technical stuff of it. I thought, you know what, this is gonna be research in motion. I'm just gonna create something. I'm gonna plant the seeds and hopefully it'll grow. Versus I could have written a paper and had someone hopefully think it was important at some point. I just thought I'm just gonna build it and we'll see what happens. That's really what this is. The Great Lakes Canoe Journey came out of that research and intent to do really well and wanting to build the community up together. And so this is our journey. So for the Great Lakes Canoe Journey. Excuse me. Seems to be frozen for some reason. I'm just going to stop for a second because it said that it was frozen. Just 1 second here. For some reason, it's not, okay, there we go. It's moving here. Okay. I think we're all good. Share screen. Okay, let's see if this technology is very funny. Okay. I'm gonna blaze through this really quickly. This is just to give you some context. We started out in the West Coast for the Mother Earth Water Walk. And the Tribal Canoe Journeys, like I said, we got invited back after the Mother Earth Water Walk, and the Tribal Canoe Journeys is something, just to give you his historical background, this is something that was started 20 years ago by 4 West Coast communities that said, you know, hey, we always used to visit each other. We used to have a really strong canoe culture. Let's just do something, and, you know, let's make it an annual canoe journey. They just started it. That's really was the whole point. And so fast track 20 years forward, where we had participated in 2012. There were 100 canoe families, just to give you some, so starting 4 canoe families out in the West Coast, and then to 100 canoes worldwide, Indigenous people. So the West Coast, the Tribal Canoe Journeys brings together all the West Coast tribes via canoe and canoe families that are formed around these canoes, and they paddle to the host community. That could be in British Columbia or Washington State. And so, you know, there was this kind of artistic revolution, this canoe culture revolution that really impacted the West Coast, and it brought forth a lot of artists, history, knowledge, people, relations, and there were all kinds of really amazing impacts. And so when I went out there to do my research and I was looking around, and I didn't go there with an assumption, but what I had known is that this is who I am. I have something to offer, I have something to share, but I also want to learn. I'm humble to say this is what we don't know, and I'm willing to learn from you guys, because you have a really strong canoe culture intact. So, I went in saying, I just want to learn. And so we went out as a delegation. We built a Birch Bark Canoe. We the importance of what we were doing. So we built a Birch Bark Canoe. We actually gifted this to the tribe because we knew that we were going to learn, that we were going to take a lot from that experience. And so we were just really grateful for that, really, as an Anishinaabe canoe family, as students, as, you know, people building relations with the West Coast people. So these are just, I'll just run through some of the things that we were exposed to as a new canoe family. You know, the birthing of new canoes. This was an initiative that young people had asked for, and they took the time to spend with the canoe builders to say, you know, we want to learn, we want to keep that in our generation, we want to pass that on. This is a ceremony of honoring the canoe builders. You know, this is an intergenerational experience. You know, this is just, there's ceremony that goes into it. It's a community initiative. You know, just to show you the things that we've had to go through, what we've had to learn while we're able to say, while we're teaching, we're sharing this experience. These are all of our personal experiences going through the West Coast here. We also spent time with artists, Maori artists and residents at Evergreen State College. They have a really amazing arts and fiber program. They have a weaving studio, carving studio, really great model to follow. So these are the artists and residents. This is what I was exposed to as a researcher. You know, getting into different types of canoes, people from around the world. So for me, like, this was an event, but it was also kind of a classroom for me that I wouldn't actually have anywhere else. It was an opportunity to talk about, you know, the coming together of our people and who the West Coast people, the Pacific people, who they traded with, and their stories of who they traded with in the East Coast, and the last time they have any memory of the Anishinaabe people. And not to say, you know, there were like Haudenosaunee canoe families that went out there. There were Mi'kmaq, you know, so there were East Coast people that went out there before us. So this is just me sharing my personal experience. So, you know, being exposed to, being shown really about hospitality, acknowledging people's territories. You know, there was a lot to take in. All I really knew going into that, these are really great canoe people, we're really great canoe people, but in the Great Lakes and the East Coast, a lot of that history, a lot of that was taken away. And I'll get into that a little bit, but I don't like to acknowledge too much. I think, as we know, as people in this room, maybe you're here because you know that there's some missing pieces in history, in education books, and we're in a time right now that we can be inclusive of everyone, of all those stories, the contributions. It's not that we're, as a program or as a people, I don't actually want to speak for everyone, as a program, as an individual, we're not trying to eliminate the Canadian story. It's just, we want to be included. And so the canoe is a really great way. And so that's what reminds me of this story, is these relations, as we're learning as Indigenous people, even our own home, we're still learning, we're reigniting those, we're saying we're okay to learn, we're rebuilding, we're coming together as this like hybrid of Indigenous and Western knowledges. You know, so that's what I'm reminded of all this. And I will teach more. I have a third session where I'm going to talk more about kind of what came out of all of my kind of worldwide canoe journeys with Pacific peoples and food and canoes and water, because like I said, our curriculum is always growing. So it's through these journeys as being an ongoing student, as a growing program, where we're putting all these things together, and it's kind of interesting because there was an article that came out. There's been a couple of really interesting articles. Yeah, so just acknowledging, like the sweet potato and its movement between the Americas and the Pacific. And then quinoa, I forget which university discovered or wrote about it. Quinoa being grown in the Haudenosaunee, the Six Nations area. I mean, if you go in the community, they already know. They'll tell you, and to some researchers or scientists, it's news. So I think that we're just kind of, the canoes are really, my point is the canoes are really beautiful, really great, inclusive way to tell stories about everyone's story instead of one dominant story. And so as a program, we're trying to just to instill pride in our Indigenous students, but also for people to, I don't know, maybe look at the land differently, like want to care for it the same way that we do, and we can do that through the canoe, through showing different materials and technology, just to compare instead of just saying one is better than everyone else. And that's all. We're just trying to do that through education. And so we learned a lot through this canoe journey, through the West Coast tribes, and what they had to offer. So this is a coming together. We got to hang out like this most of the day. We just actually jumped in and out of each other's canoes. Like I said, it was just kind of, that's my classroom. That's our classroom as a program. That's classroom to everyone that's in all those canoes. That's really what our classrooms really look like. A canoe journey would be traveling with your family. You got all kinds of people with different skill sets, and you'd be kind of forced to rely on each other. You'd be together. You'd be going through all these really cool experiences, and it was really an intergenerational land-based classroom. So that's what I see here. To you guys, this is like a cool event maybe, but I always refer back to this because I'm still learning to this day from these people and from these experiences. So yeah, I mean, like, this is us. This is our first canoe that I built anyways, that we built with Wayne Vallier. He's from Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin. So to acknowledge him, his family, I believe they've always had canoe builders in their family. It's never been unbroken. So a lot of my teachings, they come from him, to acknowledge him. He's from Lac du Flambeau, is from, I think, northern Wisconsin. He's a language speaker. A lot of the things that were passed down I pass them on, they come through. So to acknowledge him, as we move forward, we are in these spaces, we always acknowledge our teachers and where they come from, because they're regional based as well too. It's important to share that, because every community has a strength that was kept intact. And so, and when we come together, it's really important, because everyone will contribute to that when, as everyone moves and we ask questions and whatnot. So Lac du Flambeau, really grateful to you guys in carrying on that tradition, because I wouldn't be able to do this at all. So to acknowledge Wayne, just some pictures. I won't get into this. There's so many stories packed in this. This is just me hanging out. This is me doing research. This is my classroom. University of Toronto was like, have fun, see you later. And I wanted to recreate all of this. I wanted to give this all back. That's what the canoe journey is wanting to give this all back. Like, why should I just be privileged to have all of this knowledge? Well, I want to create classrooms to be able to teach young people to learn how to do this, so we can all go and we can see the impacts of what it'll have in the Great Lakes region. So this is just some background. So, we've been exposed to other East Coast nations, the canoe journeys that are happening out there. We paddled the Hudson River with the Haudenosaunee, the Six Nations Confederacy. It was the 400th anniversary of the Two-Row Wampum. So here, this is a canoe that they built. I won't get into too much of that, but whenever I do my work, we're always working with other tribes. So this is other Anishinaabe people from Kwemekong, from Garden River, from Mississauga. That's the Chibolo family. So we're always working with other people. It's important to do that, to share these experiences to grow together, really. So these are friends of mine. We've paddled together all over the place. And so when we're doing these, when we're learning, when we're going through these canoe journeys, I've never had an experience where I haven't been without the local Indigenous people. So when we did the Mother Earth Water Walk, when we paddled through these territories, we were always with the original people of the territory. And so, to me, that's the best way to learn. Not everyone has that opportunity, but for me, it cuts out the books, it cuts out all this other stuff. I get to hear it firsthand from the people on the land. And so that's just, I don't know, I choose to be here. I get these opportunities. And so I'm just really grateful for that. And we also there's other people too, as allies, really great people that are I acknowledge what's going on. So it's really cool to have that support. When we did this particular journey, there were hundreds, if not thousands of people that paddled us from all over the world, Indigenous, non-Indigenous. So, I just gave you guys some real background. I know it might have taken a little bit longer than I thought, but I just wanted to give you a background of where we've come, at least for me as an individual, and then coming back to, this is 2014, this is my first crew. I was based in Toronto for about 13 years. The pandemic brought me home I think I'm going to be back to Toronto. I am going to be back to Toronto, sorry, I am, because we actually just confirmed that we will be building a canoe in the GTA. I won't say where we're going to do it, but we'll be back. We haven't done any initiatives in the GTA for a while, so I'm happy to be doing that. We're happy just to be able to teach to begin with, to be in the classrooms. We missed the students, we couldn't be together. So, hopefully everyone just stays safe because we want to get back to this. But this is my first crew here. We partnered, we actually got funding, Bisway Beak Aboriginal Employment and Training. And this is me creating my first classroom here. I had my experiences. I decided we're gonna be a program. We're gonna be a part-time program. We're gonna start up. So these are my students, very eager Indigenous people that love to contribute to their communities. They're now knowledge keepers and they're outright after coming through our program. They're out and about. They're active in their communities, so we're happy to provide employment for them. So while I'm learning, I also am training people in the process, and if you're pretty keen that this is your strength, we create opportunities for people to go on to continue to build. We have people that have gone on to do 4 or 5 builds after coming through our program, and I'd say they might be canoe builders at this point. So we're also training along the way. It's pretty intense. But this is, getting into the technology part. I'm sorry we haven't really focused on this, but getting into this is the technology. It's always been in our face. It's always been, when you first come, right from the beginning of, you want to say Canada, the Birch Bark Canoe was always present. Those ships couldn't get into the waters. They couldn't carry goods. You'd be on land, you'd be walking. So you had to interact with Indigenous people, with our knowledge of our existing trade routes, the waterways, our canoes are the ones that got us long distances. And, you know, the Birch Bark Canoe, nobody knows how long ago it was completed. But what we do know is that ever since the first time it was just done, it has never been perfected ever since. It just can't. You can add on a cup holder, maybe you want a phone, you can add in some comfy things, but that is just straight Indigenous innovation and knowledge and perfection. I mean, we were engineers, we were carpenters, and the canoe really just demonstrates everything, because I mean, when you work with the Birch Bark Canoe, I mean, just to select the materials. The picture here on the left, I love this picture. I'm a root nerd. I love working with roots. One of our ancestors said, we're going to dig in the ground and dig these roots out, and we're going to use them as string. And then we're going to just build canoes with them. So these are, you know, packaged right here. Those are spruce roots. This is, you know, selecting the tree. You have to have the knowledge of it's seasonal. To build a Birch Bark Canoe, it takes 1 year to build. Because different materials are available and ready at certain times of the year. And then if you want to get extra fancy, there's other things that you can harvest at different times of the year. I won't get into that. But, you know, the Birch Bark Canoe, you're reliant on everyone. As I'm uncovering, and this is where the technology part comes in. So we started out as a program, we're just going to build the canoe. You know, we're understanding every single part of it. You know, we're intersecting with, you know, with science, some math, you know, but we didn't have written things. These were oral, they were experiential, they were intergenerational. People had specialized knowledge. You know, it was almost a form of apprenticeship. We weren't put in cohorts. If you had a passion, you could be placed with your teacher and you would focus on that for the rest of your life, kind of, or maybe you had multiple skills, or, you know, so everyone had a gift, and we had master teachers at different levels. And so that intergenerational knowledge was really important, because at different stages of your learning, you would look for different things. So we built a canoe, but now that I look at it in different ways, the spin-off of technology, it's pretty complex. And so that's why I say our curriculum is expanding, because like I said, every picture it's something different. These are the spruce roots. There's different things, and you know, wherever the spruce tree grows, people worked with these types of things. So not only, you know, for us as a new canoe family, we could say, or a program, we don't know this, maybe we can go to the Algonquins, maybe we can go to the Mi'kmaq. And then if really nobody knew in the East Coast, we could go all the way to the Inuit. So that's what's really unique. Our teachers are the tree people, these living things. And so even though today we don't have the language, we don't have our apprentice system in place, we can still go to the trees, and they can show us, they can still guide us in all of these things. So that's why I call myself a facilitator. I kind of listen, I learn, and then, you know, just kind of guide people towards this. So this is spruce roots. This is something I have identified as someone, yes, I like Birch Bark canoe building, but I also have come to know that I am very passionate about roots. Not just roots on a birch canoe, but also getting into basket making. And also because I like working with the small fibers, I'll start getting into working with spruce, smaller techniques of spruce versus this type of, for the canoe building, the sewing. This is also applicable to basket making for people that are basket makers. So again, you know, if you think about a Birch Bark canoe, it's just a very big basket. And if you're a basket maker, then you can be a canoe builder. If you're a canoe builder, then you know how to make baskets. So when you're a canoe builder, and the things that you can do, you can you can build a house, you can do everything. And you're thinking when and also when you're doing this work, I mean, there's so much going on. I mean, you're also thinking about when you're harvesting materials, you're thinking about everyone. You know, you're thinking about the basket makers, yeah, the people that have mobility issues, that can't get out. You know, you're saving, we don't waste anything from the canoe. We save it all and we distribute it to people that might have, you know, could be a fire starter, could be something for baskets, could be, so there's so much going on when you're working with this technology, is that you're thinking about everyone and you're reliant on everyone at the same time. And so as we're getting into the canoe building, like we're starting to see, like, even so as a program, we've been doing canoe building. We've built 6 canoes since our inception, since 2014. And I'll show you some more pictures, but that's how many we've built so far. And for me, as far as I've come, I'm currently working on my first solo canoe in Garden River. We were cut off because of COVID, but I'm going to be doing my own. This is an application of everything that has been given to me and putting it all together. I have to demonstrate. That's the full graduation process, but it's been 10 years in the making. It's going to be a lifelong journey for me, but I love it. Everything that's in here, all I'm showing you guys really kind of, I mean, you have to be there, otherwise we don't usually just give this information away. You're seeing inside pictures here, but because people, you want to be here, you're gonna give this to your students. This is such a great gift for the young people to learn. It's medicine for us. Even just being in that environment and smelling the cedar, the roots, and touching the ground. There's no better classroom than that. Is being on the ground, being with your ancestors around fire and water, and it's beautiful. Working with the trees and everything. And so I wanted to show this picture here, just bringing this up here. So as a program, what we've come to learn is that because our knowledge, the impact of, like I said, I don't like to acknowledge it a lot, you know, colonization, all the impacts of all of that, because of the impacts, this picture here in particular in the corner, what is happening is that those 2 young boys are teaching those grandfathers how to build that canoe. And so we're in a really uncomfortable place right now. But like I said, our classrooms are always intergenerational anyways. So, you know, it wasn't, you were of this grade, you're of this level. It was, if you have a passion, you spent time, you have something to contribute, everyone's valued. So that's what's missing in our original classrooms, is the contributions of everyone, and also being around all ages. You know, it's okay to, what you don't know, you want to ask, you don't, you know, there's a lot of support and love, a lot of humility in that learning environment. So wanted to show that, because I mean, that's the truth. That's it's uncomfortable, but we got to walk through it. We got to do it, and as a program, as an individual, I'm willing to take that on, because the value of what we're going to give, and the impacts, and I've seen it from the West Coast Canoe Journeys. That's why I'm dedicated to it. That's why I do what I do. So just to, you know, we're actually at OCAD, the Ontario Arts, the College of Arts and Design. We brought our students in. So we work with various levels of institutions, education, you know, right down from kindergarten to post-secondary. You know, so we're everywhere. We work with all ages. And the thing is I guess what I really love about our classroom is that people don't want to leave when they get in. We have to kick them out. Like, they say, oh, I have to be somewhere, I have to do something, but it's like the blood memory is activated in people, and they think, yeah, okay, you haven't done it before, but there's working with our ancestors, we call them like the tree people, or, you know, other living beings. And then when our people touch those things, like that memory comes out, and it's medicine. And all of a sudden, people, hey, I'm really good at basket making. Hey, I'm a good canoe builder. Hey, I like making paddles, or, so we're seeing all this uncovered. When we put people in their natural environments, they thrive. And I love how passionate people are. Like I said, they don't they don't want to leave. So we're starting to also, because of the impacts of our canoes being taken away, another really great huge vault of our knowledge, our classrooms, is the Canadian Canoe Museum. I mean, if they let those canoes go, if they let us in to study everything there, yeah, we'd create so many canoe builders. We'd have so many different volumes of knowledge, because as someone that can look properly, all that knowledge is in there. You can see the thinking of the builder through every stroke of what they've done, for each component of the canoe. And so this is a canoe, First Nations House, University of Toronto, a community or a high school, some students from up north built this canoe, and then they gifted it. We have a crazy habit, because these canoes are so rare, because we've shipped them off, or we've destroyed them, or we hold them in collection. We're afraid to use them. And so our ancestors and our teachers are just sitting around, just waiting to be engaged with. And they're great teachers. They're one of our old teachers that are available to us if they're around. So we had an opportunity to take this canoe down, and bring it to McMichael Canadian Art Gallery. And so my students here, they actually spent 2 weeks teaching over 1,000 elementary school students throughout the GTA about Anishinaabe canoe culture. So this is the canoe that we use. So as a program, we're trying to actively bring our teachers, bring them out, bring them to teach. They want to come out. It sounds bizarre, but like I said, there's just so many volumes of knowledge in each layer of these canoes. And you can see the joy of the students. Like, I mean, like, you can't replace that face there. Not every student wants to learn. These guys, like, I had to kick them out. This is a picture of my grandpa. My grandpa's he's a knowledge keeper in our community. He's a carpenter. So we're starting to activate that community knowledge that's been really dormant. And so I'll just give you a short story. I was out harvesting basswood, and he went out with me, and we had a little moment of him saying, like, hey, I haven't seen anybody do this since my grandma was alive. He said she used to go out and get baskets ready, and she used to go out to the market and whatnot. And so we're starting to activate those memories. And so for me, that's someone that loves to learn. I love seeing those memories come out. So the stories come with it. And so, yeah, it's a lot to carry, but I'm happy to do it. This in the moments of pride, like for our young people, this is a graduation. Our young people got to kind of walk around downtown Toronto, and show off their work. Yeah, I mean, like, they all have a really special connection to the canoe, and I was really, really proud for them. Yeah, this is them. Like, this is them putting together that knowledge, putting together that history, putting together our ancestors. The canoe is really a reflection of everything. I mean, having the knowledge to know when to harvest, how to harvest. You can get, like I said, you can get really fancy. You can harvest bark that we can etch into it. We work with different types of trees. Probably about 5 to 6 different types of trees are into this canoe. And then, I'm just being conscious of the time here. I want to fast forward. This is at Trent. I know there's a Corth Pine Ridge. This is at Trent. They built a canoe here. Sorry about that, guys. These are my students here at McMichael. But this is us at Trent. We were there for that. This is the canoe that was built in Walpole Island. And then we also get our people that we work with, we want them to reapply their knowledge. We want them to teach. So we partner with different programs. And I want to say that in my experience, so from McMichael, being with this conservation program here, I want to acknowledge the students, because when we're getting into our canoe curriculum, we always kind of assume that nobody has any experience. But I want to say that I have had some really great students come and say, they're studied, they've done their research, and they've come and it's like, well, okay, let's talk about that. Like, I'm ready for that. I didn't know. so there are some people that, if their parents, or if they're on the land, if they're have some knowledge, like, pass that down, because your students are listening. I really realize that they're what they come with. So I remember this particular, where were we? Brampton or something like that. So I remember a student came and he knew some creation stories. So I said, okay, let's get into it. So that was really cool. Sorry, getting into the technology part, like I said, we're starting to expand, and I'm sorry that we're getting too much. So we're doing canoe building, we're harvesting. I've talked about our need for other people. And so this is a workshop that we did in Toronto. We made the tools to build a canoe. So two main tools. One is a draw knife, and the other one is an awl. So you need the awl to puncture for sewing. So that's how when you overlap the bark and you sew it together. The draw knife is to, if you're kind of planing, and then if you're cutting something like the bark or whatnot. So we're starting to expand into that. That was, we've done this workshop a couple of times, but we want to do more of it, because like I said, like, now we have regional knowledge keepers right now. And then the next part that we were getting into is basswood. So basswood, we want to make rope. We make a tump line that it's kind of goes over your forehead and goes back around your back there. And because we're harvesting cedar right off, we cut the tree down, we plank it out, we rope it up, and we haul it out. And so we're getting into weaving. So getting into weaving mats and hats, rope, all those things that we need to be able to haul our materials in and out of the bush. So that's the technology component. I mean, the canoe in itself, every single part, like all the tools to be able to harvest everything, to have the knowledge, the regional, the seasonal, that knowledge. And then, like I said, we're starting to expand, not just from canoe building, but getting into, making and having it on hand too. So when you're getting into harvesting materials, like, you always have to be walking the land. You have to know the land, where it's healthy, how much is there, because you want to harvest sustainably. So you're not taking too much. You want to know what's in stock. You want to be able to go to that region to harvest, and you want to have it on hand. I mean, it's once the ground freezes, we can't harvest anything. You're kind of dormant. You got to stay indoors. We started doing indoor activities. We started getting ready for harvesting season. So it's our traditional ways of living, our technology, even getting into our food. I mean, we have to survive to be able to go out and do all of these things. There's an engagement with technology that, it's easy now. You can just go to a grocery store, you can go to a hardware store, we can do all of those things. It's very convenient. The thing is like, especially with the pandemic, a lot of our people, especially when we weren't in classrooms, there was a huge mental health crisis going on. I'm sure it still exists. People are alienated from the land, they weren't in the classrooms. You don't have the support. A lot of people return to the land. They return to do something, whether that's growing food, harvesting something. There was, and so we're really encouraging that. We see that there's, schools are looking to that. And so one of the things that I want to acknowledge as a program is that we're acknowledging there's, we got to work around things of liability. So of whether it's getting in the canoe, working with some of the technology. So there's some kinks that we need to work around, but like I said, as a program, we work with all ages, all different school boards. We're trying to work around that. So don't be discouraged as you're moving forward. I was showing you some pictures of things that we've been doing, but we can bring them into the classroom. They can be done. Like I said, we're going to be working with Waterloo Catholic District School Board. We would have hoped to have been in person, but we're going to have to do it online. So being creative about how to prepare the materials, how to still engage the students on how to work with some of the materials. So maybe we're going to work with some natural dyes to do different things. So we got to get creative. So that's where we're at as a program. Like I said, I'm currently out harvesting. I'm out and about. I'm still doing all that despite not working in the classroom, but there are things that you can do. You can work outdoors, you can work in small groups, you can do land-based stuff, you can partner with communities, programs and whatnot. So I think, so that's really maybe is my closing message. It's been a lot for what I've explained in a short period of time. So I want to say thank you to everyone. I mean, like I said, there's just so much that we got going on. I would invite you to come to our future sessions. Really, let me just, I want to pull up. Here we go. I'm just going to leave that up, and I'll also pull my slides up if people have. I'll stick around. I know it's 6 o'clock, but if you want to hang out, you got any questions, I can stay on chat and whatnot. I try to get through as quickly as possible, but we want to encourage you guys to take the survey, but also just come out. Please come out. We are October 18th, October 25th. We're still going to be focusing on the Great Lakes Canoe Journey, some of our work, some of the issues that we've had as a program, as a new up and coming program, but also some of the interactions and our growing curriculum that we've had. So yeah, if you want to take off, if you want to stick around, thanks guys so much. I hope you learned a lot. Like I said, it's just a personal kind of experience of what we've been going through as a program, what we've been doing. So hopefully, it encourages you to, like I said, we don't have all of the knowledge. We don't have everything. We're growing as a program, where we're wanting to work alongside other people. We want to move forward as a program in a good way. We want to store it. We don't want it to have anyone to own anything. We just want to grow grassroots people, to build Birch Bark canoes, to get excited about our technology. And hopefully in the future, we can see, maybe the Great Lakes Canoe Journey program is a precursor to pre-apprenticeship, to pre-carpentry programs. We'd love to see Indigenous technology merge, with Western education. How can we see the two come together so that we're creating a learning space that's inviting for Indigenous ways of knowing and learning and doing, so that they can thrive in other spaces. And so that's really our point, wanting to create that initial space before we can go on, because we see how empowering it is for people. It is for me. I speak with conviction because of the impacts that it's had. So yeah, please take the survey. Someone, I think, maybe request. Let me see if I can put it in the chat. I'll stick it in the chat. Take the survey if you can join us next Monday.
I threw it in there. Sylvia, for you.
Awesome. I didn't really see anything, but yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Hopefully you guys learned a lot.
Just wait. If you want to stay, and I have some prizes to give away. So I've put all of your names. I've put all of your names into the wheel of names, and I'll spin it for you. Wait, I'll just move over here so I'm looking in the right direction. I'm not looking all over the place. But thank you all. Thank you, Sylvia, for presenting. That was powerful. I'm just gonna